You're watching World Now. The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, seems very desperate to show he has a fresh ability to rule America better. After both men's Super Sunday wins, Donald Trump is making his voice loud on his desire to have a debate with President Joe Biden on America's future. We have details in this report.
Of the Super Tuesday votes, former U.S. President Donald Trump is challenging President Joe Biden to TV debates as both men battle to claim the U.S. #1 seat. The Republican says he's ready to take part in a TV forum with the Democrats' president anytime, anywhere, any place. Mr. Trump's challenge came hours after his last Republican rival, Nikki Haley, dropped out of the race. In reaction to Donald Trump's comments, President Biden's campaign office says he is only thirsty for attention and struggling to expand his appeal. No debates have so far been agreed ahead of the November presidential election.
That's what you are, American patriots. We need a lot of patriots in this country. Based on the way we're doing, we need some patriots.
But Mr. Trump says it is important for the good of America that he debates with President Joe Biden on the issues vital to America and the American people. He added that such debates could be run by the Democratic National Committee or the Commission on Presidential Debates, which has overseen presidential debates for the last 30 years. But Donald Trump has once referred to the commission as a subsidiary of the Democratic Party. Mr. Trump, who is 77 years old, has repeatedly claimed 81 years old Joe Biden is too old and forgetful to debate with him. But Mr. Biden has in turn suggested that it is Mr. Trump who is senile. The Biden campaign did not say whether he would participate in a debate against Mr. Trump. Instead, it suggests that Mr. Trump tunes to the president's Thursday evening State of the Union address to Congress.
And for more on the U.S. election journey, I'm joined by international affairs analyst Boy Akioku. He joins us live from Texas in the United States. Thank you for joining us on the news this hour. So, Mr. Trump, recall, refused to take part in TV debates with his Republican rivals for the party's White House nomination this same election cycle. Would you say he has the moral right to ask for what he's asking for?
Hello, good morning, and thanks for having me. Yes, he does. It's in his right to challenge the current incumbent president for the debate. And I mean, I expect the incumbent president to also accept the challenge, but we'll see how this plays out. Yeah.
So you heard him say that the president is too old and perhaps too forgetful for a debate. I mean, there are just about 4 years difference between the two. How significant is that?
Yes, it is significant because the current president is the oldest serving president of the United States at the moment, and he will be the oldest to contest for the position. So it's a significant thing in the race, and it's gathered a lot of attention. And I trust that former President Trump will use that very, 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 very much in the campaigns. Yeah.
It's easy to predict what the debate between the two of them will look like, but will refusing a debate cast some doubt on Mr. Biden's ability to continue as president at 81 years old?
I believe it will cast some doubts because it probably will be the first time in the last 40, 50 years that a candidate will not participate in the debates. So that will be a major thing. And considering his age, considering the talking point at the campaign, on the campaign grounds, it is important he takes part in the debate. And if he doesn't, then it's going to be a major, it's going to be a major factor in the elections, definitely.
We saw both of them debate each other twice during the 2020 election. How much impact do you think performance at this forum impact on actual votes on election day?
It looks like it's neither here nor there, because if you look at the history of elections in the U.S., sometimes the candidate that performs well at the debates, it sometimes reflects on the elections, and sometimes it doesn't. So it's still probably too early to call on on this particular election. I think it depends on all the issues that Mr. Trump brings to the table. But it is important for the incumbents to come out and defend his policies, explain what's going on. If not, I think it's going to be a major forum for the president to tout his achievements and explain his non-achievements over the last 3.5 years.
Mr. Trump seems like the last man standing now in the Republican Party. We saw Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who's a long-time and fierce critic of his personal conduct, endorsing him on Wednesday. How much support do you think he's getting, not only within this party, but even among the American public?
His support within the party is not doubted, because from all indications, Mr. Trump has a very good control of the Republican Party at the moment, and the leaders of the party won't have a choice. Despite their criticism and everything that's gone on in the past, they won't have a choice if they don't want to lose the party, because Mr. Trump holds a major key to the supporters in the party. So they don't have a choice; they have to rally around him at this point. He looks like he's on his way to become the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party. So they almost like don't have a choice than to just go back and support his presidency. All things they said in the past, they're politicians, they can always bury and readjust those comments.
Mr. Trump seems to have gotten a huge relief, with the decision of the Supreme Court saying that he can contest. How much impact or how popular do you think the attempt to stop him from contesting have had on his campaign this year?
Well, the judgment was actually expected. The United States of America has a peculiar, constitution, and if you study it a little bit, you understand it's a committee of states. It's the United States. So they will not want that to happen, because it's not because of Mr. Trump today. It's because of preserving the democracy and the way they have always run it. So they will want. It was clear they were going to want to hold that sacred. In terms of his popularity and how people perceive, Mr. Trump has his ardent supporter. We are going to see how this plays out eventually at the general elections. But Mr. Trump seems to stand a good chance.
The conversation and debate is still on as to whether what happened under his administration was a mere protest or insurrection, as some claim. But you've seen quite a number of cases against him in court as we speak. I'm just wondering how that is affecting his approval rating, amongst the American public.
Mr. Trump's supporters do not seem to have any problem with his ardent supporters. Don't have any problem with what happened on January 6th. They have a way of defending it. I don't think that would affect his core supporters. The only place you can see it move the needle is probably the moderates, the people that are leaning either Democrats or Republican. Within that space, you'll find people that it might affect the way they see him and how they come out in November for the elections. But for his core supporters, it doesn't mean anything to them. They believe what he did was right. He believes what he did was right. So it's a different case. Now, there is a case in the Supreme Court that will be determined, I believe, before the elections on if that was actually an insurrection. That's the only thing that can probably change anything in the course of these elections. But it looks like the Supreme Court might be coming out with a judgment on that particular one before the elections. If that happens, then we'll see how the Supreme Court analyzes and views that particular action.
So how do you think that the United States, that likes to display itself as perhaps the biggest democracy in the world, ends up with Donald Trump and Joe Biden as the main contenders in the November election? Age-wise, these people have been on the ballot before. Do you think the process is as democratic as U.S. likes to paint it to be?
Well, so far from what we have seen, both candidates put themselves up for the election. They've won their party primaries. Mr. Trump won his party primaries convincingly. A lot of his people that contested with him dropped out. Mrs. Nikki Haley stayed on the ballot till the end. It was clear because at the Super Tuesday, Mr. Trump cleared, I believe, 12 out of 13 states. So it's clear the way their system has been set up, it's working the way they want it to be. There will be contentions here and there. It will go to the court. The Supreme Court will give. So, as far as the democracy, I think it is working the way the founders of the United States planned and wanted it to work. There are things that are probably outdated that need tweaking, but so far so good. I think it's probably the best version of what we can find.
I understand the politics of the system, but do you think that these are the two best candidates the U.S. need right now?
Well, as much as those are the two that the system have thrown up, so it looks like that's the best the system can. That's the best, and that's what the system has thrown up. So the Americans have to accept it that way. It's the reality of the day, and that's what their system has thrown up. So they have to accept that fact.
So Nikki recently stepped down for Trump. Do you think he will be able to get the support of the last candidates standing in this within the Republican Party?
It will not be surprising. Nikki Haley worked with Mr. Trump in the past, so it's politics, it's all fair and square. And if you remember, the current vice president also contested against the current president in the Democratic primaries in 2020. So it's not going to be strange to see Ms. Nikki Haley come up and support the party's nominees. They usually, when they're going about their campaign, they say, would you come out and support the final nominee? And I think she had committed to that. So it won't be surprising to see her come out to say, hey, I support Mr. Trump.
I think the U.S. is up for perhaps one of the most interesting elections in its recent history, and we're counting down to see how it all plays out in the coming days. Global Affairs Analyst Boye Akinoku, live for us from Texas. Thank you so much for talking.